Hello, everyone. This is Gary Reasons. Hey, and this is day 2 of my reasons to believe. Yeah, some learnings and things that I like to share with you all throughout, the upcoming days and weeks here on YouTube. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So, number one, day 1 was a success. We had tremendous following, tremendous viewership. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And here we go with a theme for number 2, day number 2. So first of all, we're going to talk about culture and really what culture is and what you can tolerate with your culture. So, go a little deeper into culture. What we'll talk about is some things like tolerance and how that works versus accountability. So tolerance is what you're allowing to happen within your company, within your organization, within your team, really how everyone interacts with each other. And that accountability is the standards. That's obviously the standards that you set for everything that you do and everything that you're about with your company and also, again, with your team. So those are little things that'll happen when you have culture. And, that's exactly what you're allowing to happen, which is what you tolerate. Now, you do make some small exceptions, but they do come at a cost. Everything is basically subjective, but when you're trying to create a culture, you have to have a little bit of wiggle room. You guys know what I mean there. And then the leadership about this for your efforts and what you're trying to achieve, you have to model them things after potentially yourself. If you're the leader of your team or your company or your business, you need to be able to have other leaders and you need to model them and they need to take over the culture building aspects, not take over, but, join in with you in that opportunity. And then obviously you have to have a way to enforce some of the things that are going on. So that's kind of practical enforcement. That's what you're looking for. Not such big, heavy stuff, but really just being practical on what your culture looks like and what you'd like to tolerate. So, for standards to have, you might want to remove some of the excuses. That's a kind of a big thing to talk about. But with your standards, you're going to remove a little things that could slow you down from accelerating. What I mean by that is you have to have clear expectations. You've got to have a clear path for people to latch onto, for your teammates, for your coworkers. You have to be able to set the level of expectation to where it is very, very clear. And then you have to also have ways to measure that communication. We call it a feedback loop. So a feedback loop is something out in with a teammate, talking to another teammate, and so forth and so on. That message is getting across. That's what you're trying to achieve there. And then obviously you have to have, for the content and the things that you're trying to create under your culture and your standards, you have to have ownership. So you have to assign some ownership with individuals within your company or your team to put that messaging out there. And then obviously you have to reinforce it by celebrating. You celebrate the adherence of the standards and creating the culture. So this is a great way to wrap up this segment. Culture is what you obviously tolerate, and then high standards, you have to remove the excuses so you guys can get adherence and move forward. So thanks everybody for joining. This has been day 2 for Reasons to Believe, and I appreciate you joining. See you next time.